Hey everybody, I just want to do a very, very quick video here to talk about our discussions and specifically the discussions this week. So if you go to the module page and and scroll down to our week, what you'll see are, well, a few things. You're going to see some videos that are posted to kind of give some overview highlights of what's going on with Persia, the rise of Greece, the rise of Macedonia, and then the rise of Alexander the Great, and then what happens after that with Hellenistic diffusion. So the spread of Hellen, which the Greek culture across what was Alexander's empire. So that is what our discussion that'll be Thursday entails. So as you're reading the chapter and you see the aftermath of Alexander the Great, and what sort of remains in his wake is the spread of what's left behind is Greek culture. That's Hellenistic culture. So this, for example, when you see what's happening here, we talked about Buddhism, but how Buddhist perception, how the Buddhist image changes when it clashes with Greek culture. That process is called syncretization, and you can see that very clearly in this imagery. I mean, the toga, a very Greek outfit, a very Greek aspect of it. You see it in some of the philosophy that actually is adopted into Buddhism and other religions. Later on, Christianity develops quite a bit of Hellenistic culture. As Paul in Christianity spreads to Greece and starts interacting. So, in fact, a good friend of mine is doing his PhD on Greek influence in the early church. That's Hellenistic culture, that's Greek culture. But this specifically looks at what happens exactly after the Alexandria Empire. So the question that you're looking at, what evidence does the article that you have suggest the mixing of Hellenistic culture, and again, that mixture of clashing of maybe Indian culture, Chinese culture, well, mainly Indian culture, you know, the Middle Eastern culture, Egyptian culture, and how that interacts with this Hellenistic, this Greek culture. That image of the Buddhism reflects Hellenistic spread of culture. What evidence can you see in the world today that might also have start with classical Greece? So the lasting imprint of how Alexander, his vast empire spread across, well, the Middle East and into Eurasia, had lasting effects that is still with us today. I mentioned one in Christianity, but if you could think of or look at any other aspect of where we have Hellenistic culture today, Greece is always thought of and remembered as the founding of Western culture. And how did that happen? Well, that happened largely with Alexander the Great. If you could think of the Alexandria Library in Egypt, right, named after Alexander the Great, that held all this information, this culture, and that spread. The Muslim culture in the 9th, 10th centuries, they adopted lots of Greek culture as well, and that was diffused and spread to in the Middle Ages to Europe, and from there throughout Western Europe and into the Western culture into the United States today. So all that has its foundation in this Hellenistic process after Alexander the Great. So one thing about discussions, if you look at the points, these are 15 points. So 10 points is to write your response. And if you have questions about how you're missing some points in the grading, some big things you could do is bring in some quotes. A lot of you do this, and a lot of you read other people's that do this quite well. They bring in a quote, they bring in information from the reading to really prove that they've read. And then not just leave it there hanging, but talk about why that's important. So, explaining what from the reading was important and how it sort of bolsters your answer. And then, more than just a sentence or two answering number two, give me some information and give some examples of it and explain your examples. All that is going to help huge in your discussion 10 points. The sad thing is some people write amazing responses, discussion posts, and then they miss out on the 5 points, the easy 5 points of really interacting with your small group. Two people, a response back and forth, you'll get some points, but will really get you the 5 points is talking to two different people and giving examples and really engaging. Not just saying, I really liked your post, exclamation point, but adding in information of something they said or something you never thought of before, or something you disagree with. That's totally cool and fine. And then some people, if you respond back and forth and you have a bit of a dialogue, and it's obvious that you're spending a lot of effort. There has been times when I have given extra credit, where you might see you get even 16 out of 15, for just doing that extra push, that extra effort rewards, reward you for that. So that should help. Think of concrete ideas both in your own writing and then when you're responding. Make it very clear with paragraphs of what answer you're answering. So number one and number two with a long answer, and it should be pretty substantial. This is the reason we only have a couple assignments a week is so you can really put quality into this rather than just endless quantity of stuff. So great job, you're doing fine, but those that have questions about that, hopefully that'll help you. Hopefully it'll help you looking at Hellenistic culture, of how this Greek culture spread. Check out the videos that talks about the clash of Persian culture, that gives rise to this Greek culture in this classical age. And we're moving right along. Thank you very much. Let me know if you have questions. Bye-bye.